Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. For those who don't know me, my name is Leo, leader of CDV Youth. Wanted to go ahead and introduce my darling wife here.
Hello, Diana. Hi, everybody.
Yes. So our chat's going to be live. If this is the first time you've been here with us, at the very end, we actually have a question, and we have what's our prize for today?
Our prize is a box of nerds.
All right, so pay
Love
attention because it's always related to what we're talking about,
Yes.
right? So today we're going to continue our sermon series on habits, all right?
Okay.
I wanted to see if there was any way I could have you introduce the sermon series, but we'll go ahead and pray first,
Okay.
all right? Lord, thank you for having us here. Thank you for allowing us to spend this time with you. Thank you for allowing us to receive this message. Please let it go into our hearts and into our minds so it can get into our feet and we can go out and really put your word to work. That is why we are here. We want to see how we can go ahead and take your wisdom and put it into action. All right, guys. So I'm going to have you introduce our sermon series, please.
Yes. So, small disciplines, big results. Change isn't easy, but it isn't impossible either. Your future self is a result of the decisions you make each day. In this 4-part series, we'll see how far a few small habits can change how you see yourself today and can transform you into the person you want to be tomorrow.
I love right here, it says, your future self is a result of the decisions you make each day.
Yes.
I think I point that out every single time.
Yeah.
I really like that part because it really is. That's life.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go ahead and talk about accomplishments
Okay.
and just things that you want to be able to do throughout your life. Okay, what do you feel like are your goals or your dreams?
I feel like I'm being on the spot. I don't know. Okay.
We talked about this.
I know. We talk about this all the time. Then you should know my answer.
The world doesn't know your answer.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Well, I want to, make sure our family's okay first and make sure that, we are trying to help others and reach people and share the word of God and just live by our values, our faith first, our
Enhance
family.
his kingdom.
Yes.
Absolutely. So awesome examples of dreams or things you want to accomplish. Have you ever met a person who's like, I want to live a horrendous life, or I want to be able to gain 5 pounds every single year till I balloon to a 600-pound person?
No.
That's not a thing that happens. I mean, we all have similar goals. We all want to be able to
Want to be healthy, long life,
be
good
healthy.
life.
Absolutely. Be able to say that your life here made a difference
Yes.
in someone else's life, right? And the thing is, we can live an entire life where all we do is wake up, go to wherever our destination is, whether that's work or school or somewhere else, eat, sleep, and then do it all over again.
Repeat. Mm-hmm.
And you can live a life like that without God. You could live a very long, long life.
Yeah.
But are you really meeting your potential, that what you're made for?
Doesn't sound like it. No. Yeah,
Agreed.
it's just bare minimums repeating.
So with that, you end up going through things, but not really growing to your capacity. You might grow as a person, become more mature, but are you growing closer to your purpose? Because whenever you're trying to get somewhere, you need to make sure that your eye is always at the distance, but you're concentrating on what's in front of you. Okay? So you're concentrating on this while also making sure, yes, this is the direction that I want to
you're
go,
heading.
instead of going completely the opposite way.
Yes.
All right? Because we're not encountering the things that we need to encounter to be able to become the people that get to that goal.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So without that, you end up living a life with a lot of regrets. Why? Because instead of going that way, you went all the way around and you didn't get anywhere near there. All right? So what we want to do is the goal is to live the life and accomplish the goals, but also not have a bunch of regrets of things that you didn't do or didn't even attempt. Let me throw this to you.
Okay.
Would you rather have regrets of things that you did and wiped out about, or rather have regrets of things that you just never even tried?
Definitely the first, yeah, because at least I know that I would have tried, and even if I didn't accomplish, or
So what you're telling me is you'd rather be humiliated by trying to do something
mm-hmm,
as opposed to just not
not trying
trying
at all.
and not being humiliated.
Yeah, and I don't think it would be humiliation.
No,
yeah.
let's take it to that step
Yeah.
though,
I
cuz that's a
think it would be
drastic.
humiliation within myself, like, oh my gosh, I didn't even try.
Sure.
Um,
Or society could say you were a failure.
yeah. they could.
What? We're going there. Society could say you're like, let's just say you wanted to open up your own bakery.
Bakery.
A bakery, right?
Mhm.
A actual location bakery. And you never gave it a try. Like, let's say it was a desire
Mhm.
that you wanted to do. You never gave it a try, and you lived and died, and you never were
Never
able
even
to
tried
able
to open it.
accomplish that. Or would you rather open the place and just disintegrate and then move on?
And move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least I would have tried. I would have known.
At least you would have
learned.
tried.
I
You
would have
wouldn't have
grown through the experience.
agreed.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So another thing I wanted to talk about is most people don't self-destruct all at once.
Correct.
All right? I really think it takes a lot of small bad decisions for you to go ahead and like alienate your entire family or
Mm-hmm.
just like not be liked by anyone, right?
Yeah.
Or just destroy your life altogether.
Yes.
So it's that kind of stuff. It's indifference when it comes down to your values. It's poor choices that go ahead and wreck your relationship with Jesus. Okay? And this is what we're going to go ahead and look into. The sheer fact that it's not just one big circumstance that happens to you that destroys your entire life. Okay? And one of the examples that we're going to get into is Samson. All right? And we're going to go read Judges 16:1. And do you want to give us a little summary on what you know about Samson?
Yes. Well, I know he's very strong, loved by God, and he had long hair, and he kind of just gave it all away for a girl.
For
kind
a
of,
girl, sure.
Yeah.
What kind of girl was this girl?
A prostitute, actually.
Oh my gosh. Is that what we're going to get into right now?
Yes.
In Judges 16:1? Can you go ahead and read that?
Yes. So one day, Samson went to the Philistine town of Gaza and spent the night with a prostitute.
What? Is that what we're talking about today? Did you write this? All right. So what we need to be cognizant of is that Samson is like this hero. Okay? He's this hero of the Israelite people. And when it comes down to Israel, the Philistines are the enemies of Israel, right? Because the Philistines were actually actively living in the land that God kind of gave to Israel. So you could tell, or
Yeah,
you know,
I'd understand why they wouldn't.
you
like
would
them too much.
understand why they wouldn't like each other, right?
Mhm.
So when you read this, can you read it one more time? Judges 16:1.
One day, Samson went to the Philistine town of Gaza and spent the night with a prostitute.
So he went into enemy territory,
Mhm.
all right? And it says he walked 25 miles. That's about the distance. 25 miles through enemy territory.
Mhm.
He's like public enemy number 1. This would be like Batman going to like a city of like Joker goons, right?
Yes.
Just walking through like none of his like
Mhm.
everything was
Like
fine,
everything's all
right?
good. Mhm.
So he's public enemy number 1. He walks all of this distance to go ahead and get some well, you know what I'm talking about, right? So what we need to think of is how many, like, what's his mode of transportation? Maybe a horse, a chariot, something like that. But
Maybe.
more than likely, he's probably walking.
Walking, yeah.
right?
Back then, yes.
So when you think of 25 miles from where he is all the way to the capital of the Philistine, the headquarters, that's about if you think of the steps, it would actually take 56,250 steps. 56,250 steps to cover that distance. All right. And what we need to think about is, let's go back to Judges 16 first, and then we'll go ahead and hit this this point. Is we look at, man, did he really cover all that distance just to go ahead and get what he wanted?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And what kind of person does this?
Determined one.
A very determined person, right?
Yes.
But you can actually really talk about the fact that we all kind of do this. We all do this kind of stuff. We all try to go this really long distance for something that may not be the healthiest thing for us.
Yeah.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, even the carnal want that he wants, this desire, you could justify a man going to school, getting good grades, like getting an awesome job, starting a business. Like, you can kind of dedicate that, or say, hey, he went to those lengths to build this for himself to be able to impress a mate.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I think that some people do. Yeah.
So if you think about it, life is that. Life is, to one extent or another, being able to be attractive to the opposite sex, to be able to fructify and things like that, things
Mhm.
that God wants us to do,
Yeah.
right? So the thing is, where are we looking for guidance? Are we trying to go ahead and just fulfill our carnal needs, or are we looking towards the purpose of God? Okay, because looking to our carnal needs will get us to a point, but is it really to the extent of where we need to travel,
Yeah.
right?
Two different things.
So when we think of Samson taking this walk all the way to Gaza to meet with a prostitute, do we think that that is just one decision that made his life self-destruct?
Seems like it would be.
Seems like it would be. Like, you know what? Yeah, he did that one decision and that destroyed everything.
Mhm.
But we talked about how it took 56,250 steps to get from where he was to Gaza. So you could really say that it took 56,250 bad decisions
Yeah.
to go ahead and wreck his entire life.
Yeah. Well, that's what we were saying when we started.
Yeah.
You don't destroy your life overnight. You don't destroy relationships overnight. Yeah.
Agreed. Because he went there. He met Bathsheba. Is that who she was?
Something like that.
Yes.
Yes.
And that ended up starting his entire downfall.
Mhm.
And he actually ended up dying with his eyes or blinded somehow. I should have probably done a little research because it had just been a little bit. And he ended up destroying and killing a lot of other Philistines, but killing himself in the process as
yeah.
well.
Mhm.
All right. So we need to ask ourselves, who do we want to be? All right. Who does God want us to be? What choice or habits do I need to break? Last week it was, what habits do we need to build?
Mhm.
But what habits do we need to break to be able to become the people that he wants us to be?
Yeah.
The habit, what habit is taking you into the wrong direction instead of going to where he wants you to go?
Yeah, it can be big things, little things, laziness.
Absolutely.
Lots of things.
So, yeah, we could talk addictions, substances, anything.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. The opposite sex. So we're going to get into a little bit more scripture, okay? I want you to read James 1:21.
Ready? James 1:21. So get rid of all the filth and evil in your lives and humbly accept the word God has planted in your hearts, for it has the power to save your souls.
So what's James telling us here?
To break all those bad habits in our lives, the evil in our lives. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It says, and humbly and accept the word of God. Oh, the word God has planted in our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in there. We just need to be able to accept it humbly. What does that mean? What does that mean? That's powerful. Accept it humbly.
Not, I don't know, just not being so, what's the word? I'm like trying to,
Proud.
yeah, proud. Like
Yeah.
proud, like trying to push
Be willing
away,
to
like, well,
listen.
I'm better than this. Yeah.
Be willing to listen. So if you want to break a bad habit, you need to be able or be willing to listen.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the habits that we need to break in life? Is it a technology addiction? Is it social media? Is it binge watching? Is it pornography? Is it substances? Is it gossip? Oh, there's a lot of different habits that we've had, right? So another thing that I want you guys to keep an eye on is with these bad habits, if you start seeing a trend of people saying, hey, you know, all these people that love you saying, hey, you seem to have a problem with blank. Or whenever you do blank, I don't really want to hang out with you. Then what might that be a clue of?
That you have a problem with
that,
blank.
That you have a problem with blank.
So more than one person's telling you.
So we're going to talk about keys to life,
Okay.
all right? Based on who you want to become, what habits do we need to break? That's what it is.
Yeah, and it's different for everybody. Yeah.
Yes. Have you guys ever thought about how easy it is to do a bad habit and how hard it is to create a good habit? Why do you think that is?
Bad habits gives you instant results.
Sure.
Like
Instant results.
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification. Okay.
Yeah, like I ate that bag of candy and potato chips. I feel better now.
Sure. Okay. All right. How about good habits?
That's more long run than long term.
Sure.
Delayed gratification is what
Yeah.
it's called. Yeah.
Do good habits feel good immediately?
Not always.
Not always.
No.
Absolutely not. Usually they're challenging at first and then the reward comes in the future, right? Like jogging, right? You'd go wake up and jog the first day and you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Why did I wake up this early? Why is it so cold? I'm thirsty.
My leg hurts.
This
wanna go
sucks.
back to
It's
bed.
too hot. Like things like that, right? So you don't see the payoff until like 3 months later of you being consistent and you starting to get confident and then being like, wow, I did this for 3 months, for 90 days. I am a beast. Absolutely, that confidence that you gain. And another thing is you start to come to the realization of who you really are.
Yeah, that is how you grow. You get to know who you are.
So
yeah.
good habits teach you who you are. If you're an accountable person that's consistent every single day and someone says, "Hey, can you be accountable to me and consistent every single day?" then you'll say, "Absolutely." And why are you going to know that? Because there's a lifetime of proof of you being accountable and consistent and following through. So honestly, building good constructed habits is like doing yourself a favor. Absolutely.
It really is.
It really is, because you become what you prioritize, and you become like you become your values when you actually start living them.
Yes.
So that's going to be a whole other thing. We're going to talk about resistance a little bit. A resistance to building these good habits or breaking bad habits. Okay. So like let's just say, man, it's 9 o'clock or it's 8 o'clock on Sunday morning, and man, you volunteered to go ahead and serve at church this weekend. Oh man, it's so but my bed is so comfy right now. But it's so hot outside. You know, why did I raise my hand to volunteer for that day? Why do I even serve? Like, why would I do this? Until years later, where you actually feel like you're starting to gain a better connection with God, and you're hanging out with godly people, and you see just how your relationship with God ends up changing other people's lives around you. So when you think of the beginning part of that, it's like, oh man, this is gonna suck.
Yeah, you kind of dread it a little.
Absolutely. But that didn't happen from one week to another. It took time. So bad habits have that perception of having the benefit now, right? So it's like, man, I could really go for like a well, I won't say a certain brand, a burger.
A burger, yes.
Yeah, 'cause I don't want to get like sued by corporations. But a burger, right? And you know what? Let's get one today. And then tomorrow, I don't really feel like cooking. Let's go ahead and get another one.
Another one tomorrow.
And we just do that every single day.
Mhm.
Then if it's going to feel good whenever we're eating
Mhm.
the actual burger. But in 30 years where we can't stand up, I mean, or take a few breaths or what deal with whatever pandemic is going on back in the future,
Mhm.
then that's what's going to destroy us later.
Yes,
So we need to
small
make sure.
choices of eating it every day.
Agreed. So we're going to talk about how to actually break the habits. Okay. First one is removing the trigger. If every time you drive by McDonald's, that's what's going to go ahead and trigger you, then don't drive by McDonald's.
different route.
All right.
Mhm.
So I heard this awesome donut example. Do you want to go ahead and explain the donut example?
Yes.
And what it is because we're talking about how we normally try to break habits is we just say, I'm just going to have willpower. Everything's going to be fine. Like whatever. But what happens when you try to just use willpower?
Well, willpower wears down. It's not very strong for very long, and it's the thing you have to be consistent every day. So at first, maybe the willpower helps. You're like, okay, I don't eat that donut. You have this box of donuts. You're like, I'm going to bring them for everybody else, and I'm not going to touch it, and I'm going to be okay. And then the next day, like, okay, just walk by them, like, okay, thank God, I didn't eat that donut. I'm good. Keep going.
Yeah.
Right? And then eventually you walk by, you're like, okay, I just want to smell the box. And you just kind of walk by, take a smell, like, oh, it smells so delicious.
Agreed.
And you're like, okay, well, I just want to touch it now. You remember how it's soft and sugary and
I bet it's not even soft and stale, and then I'm gonna touch it, and I'm not gonna want it anymore.
Right?
That was my
Right.
justification.
I'm like, oh, they're so sticky and sweet. And you're like, okay, well, I'm only gonna eat half. I've done it's good so far. I'm just gonna eat half one, and then you just eat half, and it's only half, and it's okay. You haven't had one for this whole period of time. It's all good. And then, well, I already ate one. Well, let me eat another half, and while there's one over there, it's gonna go bad.
Yeah, so willpower isn't working out for you.
No,
Absolutely.
it does
And what
not.
were you doing? You were what are you doing to your actions?
Not being consistent.
Not being consistent.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, you were
Not
kind of
following
being
through.
inconsistent.
Well,
You weren't being accountable to
Accountable, that's the
what
word I
you
was looking
wanted
for.
to do.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And you were justifying your actions,
justifying
which is
everything.
what we do all the time. We justify the actions.
Yes.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into Proverbs 4:14 to 16. Make bad habits hard to do. All right. And this is what God asks us to do.
So Proverbs 4:14 through 16. Don't do as the wicked do, and don't follow the path of evildoers. Don't even think about it. Don't go that way. Turn away and keep moving. For evil people can't sleep until they've done their evil deed for the day. They can't rest until they've caused someone to stumble.
It says, but for evil
crazy.
people can't sleep until they've done evil deeds for the day. So that
crazy.
sounds crazy, right?
Mhm.
But what he really means is for Leo can't go to sleep until he eats that donut. Or Leo can't go to sleep until he does that drug. Or Leo can't go to sleep until he, plays or binge watches Hulu, whatever. So we think of evildoers. No, we're doing this. We're instead of going towards doing godly things, we're distracting ourselves, or we're keeping ourselves from meeting our potential. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. Like when I first read it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of like murders. Like they have to kill somebody today to go to sleep. Something crazy.
Yeah, it's not.
Having that midnight
Yeah.
snack. Mm-hmm.
Disobeying your parents, things like that. Absolutely. So bad habits usually start with a trigger, a smell, and then you do it, you do the action, you eat the donut, and then
Mhm.
you get this release of dopamine and other neurotransmitters, right? And you feel great. So what we want to do is we want to be able to um, move locations, avoid trigger. Okay, just if there's donuts in the break room, then you're not storing your
Pick
stuff in the
there.
break room. No, you're eating outside at the picnic table.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Change locations. Get the heck out of there. Remove the triggers. Avoid the place that you always go and do that habit.
Mhm.
Okay? So avoid restaurant chains. Avoid wherever you smoke pot. Avoid wherever you have whatever
Mhm.
crazy, like whatever.
Whatever their habit is, yeah.
Yes.
You usually tend to do it like you feel comfortable in a place, you kind of go to that place. So yeah, avoid that place now.
Because well, I mean, we can move on because we already have like a ton of examples of bad things that happen. We're going to go ahead and read Proverbs 15:20.
Yes. Sensible children bring joy to their father. Foolish children despise their mother.
What does this mean?
Explain it. I don't know.
It says sensible children bring joy to their father. So you want to be able to bring joy to your father. Foolish children despise their mother. What does that have to do with anything? Who's a mother? What does a mother do usually?
Nurture them?
Yeah, sure. So if you go against the being that's been nurturing you and trying to, both of these can be a representation of God. All right? Just because it says father and mother doesn't mean
No. Mhm.
absolutely. So let's just say foolish children despise their God. All right? So simple, it doesn't have to be super hard. Absolutely. So hard to live the right life with the wrong friends. Okay, we're going to talk about that here in 1 Corinthians 15.
15:33. Don't be fooled by those who say such things, for bad company corrupts good character. Think carefully about what is right and stop sinning, for to your shame I say that some of you don't know God at all.
So you want to stop smoking cigarettes. Who are you going to avoid hanging out with?
Your friends who smoke?
Your friends who smoke cigarettes. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another form of moving locations, okay? Um snooze button habit we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay? This was a cool example. So let's just say your issue is you always hit snooze and then you end up being late to work or school or wherever you're going, right?
Mhm.
What should you go ahead and do to avoid that? Let's put this into practice. Let's put avoiding triggers. Let's put moving locations. Let's put all of this into actual practical
Okay.
habits right now.
Well, because it's easy to just reach over and turn it off.
Yeah.
Make it not easy to reach over and turn it off.
Sure. I've heard there's crazy apps for that. Like there's apps where you actually have to shake your phone for it to stop. There's
And that
apps
wakes you
for like it'll wake up like yelling at you. You can do something simple like just put it on the other side of the room
Mm-hmm.
where you physically have to stand up, go over there, have a friend put a password on like your computer. If social media is your issue, put limits on your times that you can be on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Those are different ways for us to go ahead and put this stuff into practice.
Yeah.
And then we start thinking like, why are we talking about this stuff? Because in the grand scheme of things, if we're doing other things that are not allowing us to get closer to God, then what are we doing?
If
So-
we're not getting closer, we're getting farther
So
away.
that's the key to us trying to get rid or stopping bad habits
Mhm.
so that we can fill them up with good habits that do help us connect to
Mhm.
God. All right? So
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
a friend who said, she did the timer thing with the Facebook. I don't know if she did the timer or she just completely took it off, or she didn't log in. You know how your phone tells you how much time you spent on each app. So it was 33% less time she spent on her phone just by not being on social media.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it frees like that much time that you free up.
That's a third of your life. Absolutely.
A third of your life, yeah.
What? Of your day, at least.
Yeah.
Of your day. Because then you're sleeping. Unless you're like doing this while you're asleep. So yeah, earlier we were talking about how good habits can allow us to like really start to feel confident in ourselves, right? Like, man, I did this for 90 days. I'm so accountable, so consistent. I can rule the world. I am a consistent, confident person that can do anything. But it can also break us down and let's not allow these bad habits to into the people that we don't want to be tomorrow. All right? Because the thing is, we don't expect to lose our family from one day to the next. We don't expect ourselves to lose ourselves from one day to the next. We don't expect ourselves to lose ourselves to a substance.
Correct.
You just don't expect that things. You're not like, oh man, I'm looking forward to being addicted to something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, when you're feeling weak, who brings you that redemption or that strength?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because if you're depending on a cigarette or social media, likes, follows, that kind of stuff, then wow.
Yeah, that's not something like a good foundation to be on, something that's going to hold you up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Christ is always going to love you. The internet may not always love you.
It's mean.
I'm kidding. Yes. So when you start good habits, it usually becomes a part of your identity, of who you are. You want to go ahead and make sure that those are good habits, godly habits that make you a strong man or woman of God, right? Build the habits that will allow you to go ahead and become that strong man or woman. So the way that we're going to go ahead and do that is we're going to avoid our triggers, we're going to change locations, and we're actually going to make it hard for us to do the bad habit. So if like we said, our bad habit was hitting that snooze, then let's make sure that we put it on the other side.
Do something about
absolutely.
It. Yeah. If you want to make
social
change,
media, put
it.
those limits on there. Drugs, don't buy drugs. Spend it on something else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Change your friends. So that's all we got for you. For any questions that you guys may have, please send it to us in the comment section. Please follow us through Instagram and TikTok through
at CDVULV.
Did I even say that? I'm so old.
Just
that made me seem so at. Wow, that's so bad. So our question of the day. Would you like to share our question of the day?
Our question of the day is: how many steps did Samson take to Gaza?
I purposely said it like a ton of times too. So we love you guys. We have a challenge for you guys.
Yes. Want to join us, Chrissy?
All right, here we go, Chrissy.
Today.
You want me to narrate? And you guys can go ahead and do it.
Oh, sure.
Cool. All right. Wow. Kiki wants to play too.
Pick a straw. I cut them in half to save straws. And pick a feather. We're just going to blow it up and see how far.
Apparently straws are evil, guys. They don't allow sea life to. All right. Hopefully are we in the shot right here? Hopefully. Let me move. Here you go. I will be the judge. We want it. Oh.
To whatever you want to count.
So who goes the highest or the longest?
Either.
All right. So we want to make sure that it stays up, especially with this fan on. That's going to be very challenging. It's like a tornado because we got a vent right here, and then we got the. Okay, but let's go ahead and do this. Ready, set, go. Let's do it one more time. Let's because it's obviously going to fall on the couch. All right, here we go. Do you want to do this standing up?
Okay.
Oh, let's. What? All right. Oh. All right. Well, I don't know. Let's say Chrissy wins. There you go. All right. Well, yeah, she stopped it like twice. So there you go. All right, guys. We love you guys very much. We will see you next week, Wednesday. Bye. Oh, someone has to go turn you guys off.